Hello my lovely friends, my name is Ava and here are some slow burn romance recommendations. I am dog sitting for my mom and dad. This is Ollie, if you remember him from old videos. I've had him for a while, so I'm watching him, and Katniss is right next to me. So Winnie is having a grand old time with her cousins. I don't know what affiliation it is, but they're out on New Year's Eve and I'm at home. So here we are. I'm watching the dogs because I'm not doing nothing. But anyway, we are going to be talking about some slow burn romances. I have other recommendation videos on my channel. I'll link them down below if you want even more recommendations. But without further ado, here are 10 more slow burn romances. First one that I have is Kirby Girl Summer by Danielle Allen. This book starts out with our heroine going on a very poor date. She is getting back into the dating scene and she's going on a really bad date at this bar that is across the street from her apartment. And she kind of befriends the bartender there and he's like, hey, I know dating for women right now is really dangerous and scary. So how about like Friday nights when I work here, you can bring your dates here so I can keep my eye out for you. And she's like, okay, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much. And this book takes place throughout the months on Friday nights when she takes her dates to this bar, and by the end of the night she's kind of talking to the bartender instead of the date because all the dates are garbage. Like, I related to this heroine so hard and how dating is awful and how men are awful. So yeah, there were some awful men in this book that I really related to going on dates with. Let's stop. There have been some good guys that have been fine, it's just no spark. However, a lot of them, the majority of them, have been really weird. So really related to her and what she goes through in this book. But because she's going on all these dates with other guys throughout the months, throughout these Fridays, it takes them quite a long time to actually get together with her and the bartender. Next, I have the only Ali Hazelwood book that I've read, which is Love Theoretically. And this one is actually pretty good. Our heroine is a theoretical physicist, if I'm not mistaken. I know nothing about physics, so take with that what you will. I'm not a science person. But in order to supplement some of her income, she actually works at this like fake dating agency where like they're fake dates for guys who need dates for like events or something like that. So she has fake dated this guy for a few times at family functions. She ends up falling for that guy's brother instead of the guy she's supposed to be dating. It's a little complicated. There's also like a workplace aspect interweaved in there as well because she's trying to work at the same, I think, university that the hero is working at. Next, I have Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin. This is a dark, taboo, forbidden romance. It is slow burn because it is taboo, okay? Our heroine goes to this school that Father Magnus runs. It's an all-girls Catholic school. She has faced some behavioral problems from her mother. Her mother thinks that she's acting out, so she sends her off to this Catholic all-girls school. There she ends up trying to seduce and then actually falls for Father Magnus. And man, is this forbidden? Is this taboo? It's obviously slow burn because they're having to keep their relationship a secret. I have Rebel Air by Vicky Lind and Penelope Ward. This one is a contemporary romance, like bad boy, tattooed man. Our heroine wants a fresh start, so when she gets hired at this new bar, she thinks this is like perfect. She gets hired as the hostess and she actually ends up falling for her boss, who is the hero. This is actually the first book in a duet, so it is kind of slow burn because it takes place throughout 2 books and there's something major that happens in here that I literally can't talk about at all. So yeah, I know that summary is like short and sweet. However, there's a lot going on here I can't talk about because it would be a spoiler. But it is a workplace romance. She falls for her boss, who's like the bad boy, motorcycle riding, tattooed, muscly man. When She's Common by Ruby Dixon is an alien romance. This is the most recent like regular length book in her Rizdaverse series. This is an alien romance series that takes place on the planet Rizda 3, which is a planet filled with human refugees who have been illegally taken from Earth, and they find solace on Rizda 3. They can live normal lives, be farmers, be whatever job that they can do on this planet. The heroine is feeling lonely, so one of her friends recommends like, hey, what if you go get a pet? Like, I think maybe a pet would help you. She's like, oh, okay. And she asks one of the aliens on the planet like, hey, can you hook me up with a cat? And he has to like special order a cat or whatever. The cat comes to her doorstep in this like 8-foot box and she's like, what? And it turns out that's the hero inside the box. He is a Praxian, which is kind of feline looking alien species, and he is a royal alien in hiding. He was told by this guy that he would be able to seek refuge on this planet with the place he's being sent to. The heroine does not know what she's been wrapped into, what she signed up for. She just wanted a pet cat, and now she's stuck with this spoiled alien prince who thinks that she's gonna like wait on him hand and foot when that is not the case. So I love the dynamic in here. Her thicker length ones in the Reservoir series are always slow burn, which I love. Another pretty thick one is The Demon Court by Emma Hamm. Now don't get me wrong, this is a slow burn book, but it's not without its spice, if you know what I mean. Like, they still have spicy times between them, even though it takes them a while to like fall for each other, I guess. This is a fantasy romance, and the heroine is a witch, and she's basically been sent by her mother and has been trained her whole life to seduce and take down the god of lust. When he's being a little naughty and is getting all over the old man. He's an old man. You don't need to be bothered, okay? See, he's laying in the bed. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. She wants to play with him. No, he wants to be left alone. That's why he's growling. He's grumpy. He's a grumpy old man. You gotta leave him be. You're a baby. But yeah, anyway, she's been sent by her mother to seduce the god of lust. And that's essentially what this romance is about, her trying to break down lust's walls. Yeah, that's fairly simple. That's fairly what it's about. I don't want to spoil anything, but it is a long, slow burn book despite the fact that he is the god of lust. My favorite alien romance from last year is Ruling Sickthand by Victoria Aveline. And this one is so slow burn and so delicious. It is so good. This takes place on the planet Clickania, which all the other books take place on as well. However, we're in a new area of the planet where there's no technology whatsoever, because there are these dragon creatures that the aliens ride, and technology frequencies kind of scramble their brain, so they don't have technology at all in the city. So I prefer those alien romances. There's just something about no technology that I love. I love it. I love it. But the heroine in this one has kind of been taken by Sickthand, who is the king of the land, and his people, and then she ends up having to be in a marriage alliance. This hero is kind of a stalker and has a two-way mirror. Is it one-way mirror or two-way mirror? One-way mirror? I don't know, in her bedroom that he just sits and watches her all day long. Like, he is obsessed with her. Even though he like denies that he feels anything for her, he is obsessed with her. So it is slow burn. I freaking love this one. It's so good. You need to read all the books in the series to get to this one, please. A fantasy one that I have is Ballad of SE Sky by Madeline Elliott. This one is the romance between a siren and a selkie. So sirens and selkies are sworn enemies. The princess of the selkies, her dad actually kidnaps a siren. She's always been entranced by sirens, wanted to know more about them. She's very fascinated by them. But her dad is the king of the selkies, and he's like, no, you can't be near them. They're dangerous. So when he ends up kidnapping one day and putting them in the dungeon, she goes to look at him, and the siren escapes the jail cell and kidnaps her. And it's their romance. If you haven't read this one, you need to. It is really good. It's a good fantasy romance. It's a duet. I do need to continue on in the duet, because I read this one only when book number 1 was out. But yeah, it's a good like kidnapping romance. They kind of like kidnap each other in a sense. And there's also disability representation. The heroine has asthma, which you never see in a fantasy romance. So that was so cool. For historicals, I have The Bachelor Bargain by Madison Michaels. This one also has disability representation. The heroine is a cane user. And then with the cane, there's like a button she can push, and like the handle comes out and it becomes like a rapier, like a sword. So I loved that. I really liked this one. It reminded me of like the Lady Whistledown aspect of Bridgerton. The heroine and her girlfriends in society have decided to make these papers, like these society gossip papers, kind of outing the awful men of the ton and what they have done. Because one of their friends ended up dying because of something that happened with a guy who was awful, who was a very powerful man. So they're like, you know what, we are going to expose these men. And she asks the most notorious gambler, owner of a gambling den in London, to help her with this, and it's them falling for each other. I really love this one. It was one of my favorite historicals that I read. And lastly, I do have a Christmas book, so put this on your list for Christmas next year. This is The Christmas You Found Me. This one is slow burn. The heroine, her divorce just got finalized, and her best friend plays a little joke on her and puts in their small town newspaper ad section like, hey, woman seeking husband and blah, 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 blah. With all these qualifications. She lives on a ranch. She's a rancher. Yeah, this man actually comes up to her one day and is like, hey, is this ad for real? Because I need a a wife. And she's like, it's not for real, but like, what's going on? Like, tell me why you need a wife. And he says that his 3-year-old little girl is going through kidney failure, and he needs to show, in order for her to get a kidney transplant, that he's having a steady income, which he is right now, but he hasn't for the past like few months before this point, but he has to show consecutive months, right? And so he's like, if I get married, that changes everything. It's Christmas time, and the heroine at first like declines. She's like, that's crazy, I can't be doing that, but like, I'll be praying for y'all. Like, I hope everything works out. When she gets back home after seeing him, she realizes how freaking lonely she is. She is so lonely on this huge ranch by herself and her dog, who kind of doesn't like her at all. And all of these cows, right? And so she calls him back up and is like, hey, let's do this. I want to save your little girl's life. Y'all can come live with me by all means. Like, come on. And so this is their slow burn romance. It's a single dad romance. Well, they get married, so he's not really single dad anymore. But this was such a sweet romance, very emotional. It is closed door, so if you're wanting something open door, this one might not be for you. But if you're wanting something a little more emotional, I definitely recommend this one. This one was beautiful. Anyways, there you have it. Those are some slow burn romances. Make sure to watch my other slow burn rec videos if you want even more recommendations. Let me know down below what your favorite slow burn romance is. I would love to know, but if you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me a turtle emoji in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I will see y'all soon in my next one. Bye, y'all.